Hi everyone, today I'm going to be doing a review on these Lunatick Cosmetic Labs contour palettes. But before I start this video, I just want to say thank you so much for the 1,000 subscribers. Can't believe I've made that mark. I think I'm so grateful for everyone that tunes in, for everyone that leaves a comment, for everyone that sticks around and watches all my videos, even to the end. I'm pretty amazed. Thank you so much. You motivate me to do these videos, and I really enjoy it, even though I don't bring out as many videos as I'd like, juggling with full-time work, currently 7 months pregnant and a little bit on the sick side, so sorry if my voice sounds really strange. Anyway, getting back to the point of this video, I'm going to do a review of these two palettes here with swatches and a demo of these the contour palette volume 2. I have left timestamps in the description bar down below in case you want to skip ahead of all the rambling, because I tend to do very long videos. As with most of my videos, I do leave timestamps down below because, let's face it, not everyone wants to see a 20-minute video. Anyway, a little bit about this brand. If you don't know Lunatick Cosmetic Labs, they are a brand that is based in the USA. They are made and formulated in the USA. Can't talk right now. Sorry, I'm kind of losing my voice. And they are 100% vegan, talc-free, paraben-free, cruelty-free, which is cool if that's something that is important to you. And also they kind of known for their coffin makeup palettes and the bullet lipsticks. So they are sort of an alternative brand. They have really interesting packaging, kind of horror-based, Bride of Frankenstein, mummy type creepy with the eye here. And I do appreciate that. I think that's great that brands are doing something different, bring out interesting packaging to appeal to different type of people. So I think that's great. So these palettes were recently, volume 2 was recently released on their website, so I did pick this one up not too long ago. But if you don't know these contour palettes, if you haven't heard of them, they're sort of like a cult product of Lunatick Cosmetic Labs. Their contour palette, this was the original one. Volume 1 has 12 matte shades. As you can see, the shades here are slightly lighter than the volume 2. Volume 2 looks like this, which was released maybe a month or two ago now. And again, 12 matte shades. They are multi-purpose, so they're made for use as highlight, contour, sculpting, as blushes, as eyeshadows. They do state that they are different from their eyeshadow palettes. They're formulated in a different way. They've got, they say they've got ultra fine silica in it. And when you do swatch these with your fingers, they do feel really soft and smooth, and you can really tell that they are silica based. They also have pretty much no fallout when I was using them, and I have been using them for a couple of weeks now. And I think that's awesome because, especially with these darker shades, they can be a pain to clean up, if they have a ton of fallout, which these ones don't. So I think that is fantastic. On top of that, something great for people that like to travel and not necessarily bring a whole palette is that these are magnetic and removable. I'm gonna try and remove one here. I don't have nails, as you might have known from my swatch videos, so it's kind of hard to take them out, but they come out. So you can put them in an empty palette for traveling, or if you're wanting certain shades in your makeup kit and you're doing clients, then this might also be a good option, especially if you don't want to carry around this kind of creepy eye thing. One thing I have to say about the packaging though is I wish the image was slightly higher resolution. I feel like it's a little bit fuzzy and it could be a little bit more high res. I like that they've got these shade names at the back of here, and I like that they've got the ingredient list on the back. In case you are allergic to any of the ingredients, I think this is a really good thing that they've put on the back, so you can always refer to it and see what kind of things are in the ingredient list. So I will put a photo of a still of it in case you want to go through the ingredients and analyze it for yourself. You're welcome to. Now about the price, these are $74 US a piece, sorry. Which I guess seems quite steep. For me, I bought these when they were on sale, so it was 2 for $100 US plus $20 US shipping. So when I did the maths, they came to about $167 Australian dollars. That does seem really steep, I guess. Divided by 2, it's about 80 something dollars. $83.50 for one palette. I have to say though, when you break it down per gram, it's $3.50, about $3.50 a gram, because they contain 4 grams of product per pan, which is quite a lot. Now, when I'm comparing it to, for example, Sugar Pill, the pan size is exactly the same, and these ones have 3.5 grams. Anastasia Beverly Hills, the pans are slightly smaller, and these contain, I think, 3 grams. It didn't seem too unreasonable to me, and I did make the most of the bundle, because if I had to pay $74 each, that would bring it way up, and I might not have bought it up. I knew that they were going to have a sale on Memorial Day because I Googled what they did last year, and they had one around Memorial Day, so I stuck it out and waited for that sale, and I'm really glad it came through. Anyway, what most of you might be asking is this palette worth it? Do you need it in your life? For me personally, I like it because I do need a variety of contour blush shades, because I do makeup on other people. But if you're doing it just for yourself, will you use all 12 shades? Maybe not. It does seem a lot. It does seem a bit excessive. So I think it's maybe better to pick up the refill, which goes for $12 per pan. At the moment, they only have refills for volume 1, but I believe volume 2, they will probably get it out in future. That might be a more economical way to go about it, because if you're not going to use all these shades, then it's kind of a bit of a waste of money. But for me, I really like the formula. I like that the formula is soft and kind of buttery, and it goes on pigmented but easy to blend out, because sometimes I find that some eyeshadows, they look so pigmented, and pigmentation is something that everyone goes, oh, that's great, it's so pigmented. But if you can't blend it out, then it's of no use to me. And these ones blend out beautifully. They look really nice on the skin. I'm wearing Contour Palette Volume 1 as eyeshadow, blush, and contour today, and I think it works really well. So for me, yes, it's worth it, but you have to sort of weigh out whether or not you'll be using all these shades, and yeah, because if it's not, then it's probably not going to be worth it for you. Anyway, if you want to see swatches of both of these palettes and a demo of Volume 2, because there's so many demos of Volume 1 already, because it's been out for a long time, I probably will put some links down below to other videos that I've seen other people using it with, then just keep watching. So first row, first shade we have is Dark Cool. This is basically a dark cool brown shade. I like that the shade names are self-explanatory. Then we have Medium Cool, which is a brown with strong grey undertones. It does look fairly dark when swatched on the skin, but it does diffuse really beautifully with a soft fluffy brush. Then we have number 4, Light Cool, which is a light grey shade. I think this would work well on the brow bone for cooler skin tones. And lastly, in the first row, we have White, which is the lighter shade in this palette, which is a highlight shade. Personally, I don't like to highlight with white, but I think this would work well for fairer skin tones, as would the entire 4th column of this palette. In the second row, we have blushes, and the first one is Pink, which is a peachy pink shade and one of my favorites. Then we have Beige Pink, which is a dusty rose shade. I think this shade is universally beautiful and it would work on a variety of skin tones. Then we have a pretty apricot pink shade. This is Medium Pink. Then lastly, we have Light Pink, which is the lightest pink in this palette. I would say this does not suit my skin tone because it's too light, but if you've got fairer skin than me, then this would be quite a nice flush of colour. Then the last row, we have a few more sculpting and contour shades. I would say that this is the neutral version of the Dark Cool shade. Then we have Brown, which is significantly warmer and can be used as a bronzer. Next we have Light Brown, which is slightly lighter and leaning more neutral. And then last in this palette is Cream Yellow, which is like a banana powder. I know a lot of people like this to set the under eye area. And of course it can also be used to highlight the brow bone or high points of your face. First shade we have is Dark Grey, which is kind of an intimidating shade to wear as a contour because it is very grey and corpse-like, but it does work very nicely as an eyeshadow. Let me know how you wear this because I'd be very interested to know. Then we have Deep Cool, which is another grey that's really out of my comfort zone. This one has more of a purple undertone to it. Again, I prefer to wear this as an eyeshadow on my complexion because I have a feeling this might look like a bruise. Smoky Cool is a smoke grey shade with blue undertones to it. This one I feel like I can get away with a little bit more mixed with one of the brown contour shades. Last in this row is Grey Cool, which is a cloud grey shade. I feel like this could be used as a highlight on people with fair and cool skin tones. Next row is blushes, and the first one we have is Dark Red. I did use this in my demo all over the eyelid as I'm really enjoying red eyeshadow these days. Then we have Deep Rose, which is a mauvey pink shade. I feel like the great thing about these blushes is that they diffuse really nicely on the skin, so you don't have to worry about being too heavy-handed and having to blend them out a lot. Third one in this row is Medium Rose. It's a rose shade, medium toned, super self-explanatory. It really reminds me of Dolce Vita by NARS. It's a brightening blush shade and very flattering on the skin. And then we have Light Rose, which is a pale pink shade. Although it's on the pale side, this one does still show up on my skin tone compared to the lightest blush in the previous palette. The last row we have some more sculpting shades. This one is Deep Brown. I would say this is the warmer version of Deep Cool with a purple base. Then we have Deep Nude, which is warmer again. I think this would look great as a bronzer on deeper skin tones. I actually use this shade as a blush on my complexion and I think it worked really well. Ultra Tan Nude has more of a neutral base to it, and I use this as contour in my demo and I really liked the outcome. Again, these go on really pigmented, so using a fluffy brush I would say works better. Last shade in this palette is Deep Cream. It's basically a matte yellow shade. I guess it's a highlight shade. I'm not sure what skin complexion can use this as a highlight shade. On me, it doesn't really show up at all. So I am going to demonstrate how I do a full face using this contour palette volume 2. This is the one that I haven't played around with very much because the shades are a little bit darker, but I'm curious to know what I can create out of this because it doesn't look necessarily like shades that would suit my complexion, but it is marketed as multi-use, and it wasn't specifically, I guess, marketed for people with darker skin, but I guess it's implied given the shades are slightly darker than the volume 1. So currently I've got nothing on my face except for foundation and eyebrows, which I'm not super happy with today because they're a bit uneven, but let's just ignore that and jump straight into it. So first things first, I'm going to start contouring my face. And I'm going to be using this shade here because I think that would suit my skin tone. Hopefully it is slightly cooler, on the cooler side, so I think it can be used for contouring, an actual contour shade. I think some of these greys are a bit too dark for me, so I'm just going to use those ones for my face as yet. Let's just see how it goes. I think I'll use this MAC brush. I can't remember what number it is, 168, and start with the angled edge and just go in, and we'll see how we go. These are fairly pigmented from what I've used in the past, so maybe a fluffier brush might work, but let's just see how it goes. Yeah, see, it's super pigmented, and it's kind of created a awkward It does seem to blend out fairly easily though. But if you're a bit heavy-handed like I can be sometimes, a softer fluffy brush might work even better. I'm going to just contour the sides of my face as well. I'm 6 months pregnant and people say my face looks slim or slimmer than it was before, but it's just contouring, I swear. Good contouring will make your face look like you've lost a few kilos. Okay, so that's this side of the face. I'm gonna go and do the other side too. Now that I have contoured both sides of my face and sculpted a bit of my cheeks and my jawline, I'm going to go in with this shade as a blush shade. It is fairly dark, so I'm going to use a fluffy brush and see if I can diffuse that really lightly on my cheeks. And as you can see, you don't really need very much to just add some color to the cheeks. I think this looks like a really natural flush, which I like. I also like that these are matte as well. So they blend out really nicely, and I do like that it looks like I've got a bit of a sun flushed look. So after doing my blush and contour, usually I like to just assess my face and see if I've gone too far down, and if I have, I just take my foundation brush with the excess foundation on it and just kind of blend everything a bit further, so there's no weird looking patches on my face or anything like that. And it just takes the sharp edges and lines off as well, so it looks a little bit more seamless. I also want to try a little bit of nose contouring, so I'm going to take a mix of this grey shade here mixed with this contour shade and take a fluffy brush just on the high points of my nose. By the way, if you hear a dog crying, it's because I have terrible neighbors who leave their dog outside crying for hours on end. It's awful. So sorry about the noise. I'm taking a soft blending brush because I'm a bit worried that I'm going to go overboard. Because you don't want you don't want that. Okay, crazy. A little bit crazy. Yeah. It looks very sooty, so I'm not really. I'm just gonna have to fix it later on. Okay, I'm going with a bit of a softer touch on the other side. Ooh, that's really strong. That's really strong nose contouring. I'm gonna fix it up with a bit of foundation. I think I went too heavy with the grey. So I think it looks a little bit better now that I have blended everything in with the residual foundation on my foundation brush. And it doesn't look as harsh as it was when I first put it on. So be mindful that this is very pigmented, but it blends very easily. I like that. Now for the fun part, I'm gonna go in and do my eyes using this palette. I like some of these really darker shades here, so I might try and use these ones. I think I'm gonna start with this eggplant shade here and sort of put it in my crease area and outer V. So unfortunately, I'm going to do a voiceover because the dog was barking uncontrollably. I'm just adding some eye primer all over my eyelid. I'm going to take that eggplant shade that I was mentioning before, and I'm just taking a fluffy brush and predominantly concentrating that shade on the outer V and also a little bit on the crease as well. Obviously, the texture of this is very different to an eyeshadow. It definitely diffuses a lot more, I guess, powdery, but it does blend in very nicely. Then taking a clean fluffy brush, I'm just going to blend everything out. I really want to use that blood red shade, so I'm just taking that with a flat shader brush and I'm just going to pat that into my mobile lid. And I'm just making sure that I don't go above the crease area because I don't want it to go too high up onto my eyelid. I'm just going to take a little bit more of that eggplant shade and just build it up on the outer V. It does layer fairly nicely with the blood red shade. Then I'm going to take this Define Crease brush and add that medium dark grey shade into the crease area. I know it's not a very conventional shade for a crease shade, but I thought I'd just try it out because I can't really imagine myself using the shade on my actual face to contour, but I thought I might try it as eyeshadow. And again, I'm just cleaning everything up with a blending brush. I'm also going to add the eggplant shade in the inner corners of my eye to create a smoky matte halo eye. I'm bringing it up towards the crease area as well, just to blend that in with the grey shade that I used before. And what I like about these is that they layer really nicely. Sometimes I find that when I'm blending shades in together, they can get all muddy, but I think these really work well as eyeshadows. And I'm just going to blend everything in again. I'm taking the eggplant shade again and lining my lower lash line using a pencil brush. I'm taking it 3/4 of the way in and connecting it to the outer V. I'm taking the crease brush I used earlier just to smoke out the lower lash line and diffuse the colour. I'm also going to take some of the red shade and put it just on the center of the lower lash line. There's no brow bone highlight kind of shade, but there is that yellow, so I've decided to try that out on my brow bone and see how it goes. To be honest, it's not very pigmented, so I don't think it's made a whole heap of difference. As you may have noticed, my lips are super dry, so I'm going to use this tinted lipstick that I mentioned in my previous video that I really like to wear just to give my lips a bit of color. So the dog has stopped barking, and of course I finished my demo, but this is the finished look. I think the shade of contour, I think I pretty much got away with it. For someone who has a similar complexion to me, I think that this sort of contour shade will be usable, but if you're a bit lighter, then it might be too dark for you. With these blushes, I think they work really nicely with a very light touch or a very fluffy brush applied on the cheeks. They do diffuse really nicely, and the shades also work really beautifully as eyeshadow. There's hardly any fallout. In fact, there was pretty much no fallout. I didn't have to clean up at all. And I do really like how this look turned out. It's quite vampy and wearable. So that was the full review. I hope you found this useful in deciding whether or not you want to pick this up. I personally really like these palettes. I think they're beautiful quality. I personally know that I will get a lot of use out of them, and so I'm really enjoying having them in my life. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.